Welcome to Lesson 5.1 of your Dynamic Small Business Search course. Let's take a minute in this course to understand the purpose of the capabilities narrative and some key points to remember while you write yours. First, you want to understand the difference between keywords and a narrative. Keywords for my company might be Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, or even podcast, whereas a capability narrative might be more along the lines of we use social media to help agencies better communicate and collaborate with small businesses around the country. The capabilities narrative answers the question you get at a party when someone asks, what do you do? Related to your work, right? You wouldn't just rattle off keywords. What do you do, Neil? SharePoint, Java, Oracle, hard drive, video. No, you'd say something casual and not filled with jargon. For example, what do you do, Neil? We help federal agencies better communicate and collaborate with small businesses around the country. A response like that demands that the next question be, really? How do you do that? And now we're having a conversation. Some things for you to keep in mind as you're working on your narrative going forward in this module. Most importantly, don't repeat what's in other fields. A big issue I see, or an error I see that people make on their capabilities narrative, is they put in things like we're a woman-owned small business or a veteran-owned small business. That doesn't belong in your capability narratives for two reasons. First, the most obvious is that that information is higher up on the DSBS profile already, so now you're just using up space by repeating it. The second thing is it's not telling the buyer anything compelling about your company. They're looking at the capabilities narrative to understand what do you do. The fact that you're a veteran-owned company or a small business, that's not what you do, that's what you are. That's fine, that's good information, but it belongs in different fields within the DSBS profile. So keep in mind, we want to make sure we're not repeating things that are in other locations. The second thing is there's a limitation on the amount of characters you can have in there. Most people I find don't even get to the limit, but let's talk about it anyways. There's 1,000 characters in the capability narrative. And this last bullet, you see it says CN, that's capabilities narrative. And then it says SEM, and that stands for special equipment and material. It's a second field on your DSBS profile right below capabilities narrative field. And that field's awesome because if you happen to have tractors or some other type of really unique equipment that could identify it, you would put that in there. But otherwise, it's just an empty field for 90% of us out there. And it doesn't matter what you put in there. And so I personally use it, and I recommend this to you as well, as a spillover for your capability narrative. So now you can have up to 2,000 characters to tell your story. What I tend to like to tell people is your capabilities narrative should be something that is more generic, like I talked about at a party, because the small business professional and the contracting officers are not going to be that technical. They're buying all sorts of products and services, and so they just really need to get in there, see it fast, and get out. But your special equipment and materials field, that can be a little more technical. So if you have a program office person looking at that, like let's say an IT director or construction manager, they could look in and they see you know what you're talking about because you're getting a little more technical. I'm just mentioning that briefly here. Mostly as we go through this module, though, I'm going to show you how to use your special equipment and materials field as a spillover to the capability narrative. All right, that concludes lesson 5.1. Let's head on over to the next lesson where we're going to take a look at some live examples of capability narratives.